work with a number of clients on social media policies that I think, we've been talking about the opportunities and the risks, and if we make the assumption that there's a 2-page or 50-page policy on social media use, then suddenly employees will be savvy and that's it, we're done. It doesn't work that way. We haven't seen a lot of firms being successful just creating a social media policy. There's a whole readiness aspect of training, because many, as you can tell by the stats, most of your employees use social media in one shape or another from a personal level, but do they know how to represent your brand as a professional and as a business person? No. In fact, we worked with a large financial services institution and did a whole training needs analysis across the employee groups with different levels, and were shocked that people made assumptions about what they could say about their job and at work because they simply didn't know. There was a policy. There'd been a policy in place for a year, but people didn't read the policy. So when you're in an experiential medium, I think like social, then to give someone something to read that is a policy, even though it'll have all the fine pieces around communication and what to say and not to say, it doesn't match. It doesn't match the rules of the game, and it has to be linked with training. And other things as well. I think that we can use PwC as an example. There are other systems that we have in place in our organization when we're using social media, because many of us do. We want to be seen as thought leaders or something like that. So before we go into a social media site, even though we've had training and we know the policy, there's a prompt that essentially says, I don't know what it says anymore because I don't read it. However, it's a psychological difference. It's a doorway that says you're about to go to LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook. Now you are representing PwC in a different way. So there's always this system, what do you call it? Like some sort of a trick that helps me change my psychology around representing the firm. So I think it's all of those things that make a successful policy, not just the written policy.
And
I couldn't have said it better myself, actually. And I couldn't have said it myself, so.
Well, there's one thing I wanted to add that Debbie didn't say, which is, goes beyond social media. You need, as your firm, to have a clear business communications policy that you're communicating to your employees, that they understand that when they send an email, when they have a phone call, when they're standing in public. So Hertz in Europe recently had a case where one of their counter employees decided that she was done and wanted to go home for the day. And there was a line of people at the Hertz counter and no other Hertz employees. And she just put her bag over her shoulder and she left. And she was videotaped by one of the customers standing in line, who put it on to YouTube, and it went on to the TV channels to say, here's the kind of service you're going to get from Hertz. So your employees are all spokespeople in social media, whether they choose to be or not, because anybody else can capture what they've done and put it into social media. So the business communications policy and the education needs to go far beyond what you do on Twitter and Facebook.